As parents, we worry about everything related to our children, but we tend to worry even more when they are in need of something and we are unable to provide it. For many of us, it is one of the most helpless feelings in the world. However, helping our children to finance college does not need to be one of them. This is where a 529 plan comes in. A 529 plan is an investment instrument that is used to cover educational related expenses, such as tuition, books, and housing. 529 plans are usually associated with college expenses, but they can also be used to cover private, primary, and secondary educational related expenses. So it covers expenses related to K-12 education. They can also be used to cover certain apprenticeship programs, and it can even be used to pay your student loans. One of the primary benefits of 529 plans are the tax advantages that it provides. All the earnings in the 529 account remain tax-free once it stays there until it is used for qualified educational expenses. However, if the earnings are not used for eligible expenses, there is a 10% tax penalty and the earnings are subjected to federal income tax. All states and most brokerage firms offer 529 plans. Regardless of whether you're going to open a 529 plan with a state or with a brokerage firm, the procedure is pretty similar and they can be easily opened online. You can have multiple 529 accounts for a single child with a state, with a brokerage firm, or with both. Anybody who is 18 and a US resident can have a 529 plan. This means parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles, even friends can open a 529 account for your child. Technically, you could open a 529 account for yourself and pay your student loans if you have one. In addition, anybody can contribute to an existing 529 account. So this year, instead of having your friends and family contribute gifts on Christmas, you should have them contribute to your child's college fund using a 529 plan. Like I mentioned before, 529 accounts are investment instruments that are used to cover educational expenses. They are usually a mix of stocks and bonds. Your child's age will determine how aggressive or conservative the portfolio will be. The younger your child, the more aggressive the portfolio. This means that most of the investments will be concentrated into stocks as opposed to bonds. As your child grows, the portfolio will adjust accordingly, meaning that it will become more conservative and less risky. So as your child gets older, the portfolio will contain mostly bonds and less stocks. And the rationale behind this allocation strategy is that the closer your child gets to utilizing the account for educational expenses, the more stability you want in the account. Stocks typically produces a greater return on investments as opposed to bonds, but are considered to be more risky. It is not unusual for a particular stock or index to have a 20% move up or down in a relatively short period of time. Bonds produces less return on investment, but are considered to be less risky, which is what is required in the account when your child is college ready. It is important to emphasize that these accounts are investment accounts, so past performance is no guarantee of future return, and you could lose all or some of your investments. However, the probability of that happening is extremely low. The stock market will dip at certain points in time, but in the long term, it is usually up. Just ask Warren Buffett.
If you'd bet a pension fund and you put $1 million into the S&P 500 at that time and reinvested it, during my investing lifetime, that million would have turned into 5.3 billion. You would have gotten, for every dollar you put in, you've gotten over $5,000 without ever reading a headline, an annual report. You didn't have to know accounting. You just had to believe in America. And you didn't have to pick the right stock. You just picked America.
These accounts are also usually good at mitigating against losses by adjusting the allocation between stocks and bonds depending on the age of the beneficiary, in this case your child. One of the unique features of the 529 account is that it allows you to invest for your children even before they are born. All you need to do is open a 529 plan with yourself as the beneficiary, and when your child is born, you'd remove yourself and insert your child as the beneficiary. This is a good way to start investing early if you're planning on having children. The best way to contribute to a 529 plan is by linking your bank account. Once linked, you're able to make lump sum contributions, or you can make contributions on a weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, even on a quarterly basis. However, consistent contributions when investing is extremely important. If two parents had $2,000 to invest in a 529 account, and one parent invested the entire $2,000 in a one-time lump sum payment, and the other parent invested $100 on a monthly basis until the entire $2,000 is deposited, it is quite likely that the parent that made small contributions over time will have a greater return on investment. A 529 plan is a great way to help your child plan for college and to reduce the burden of student loan. But what if your child decides not to go to college? Let's be real. Not everybody needs to go to college to have a successful life. So if your child found a different path to success, what happens to the money? There are a number of different options available. You could change the name of the beneficiary to another child or a grandchild. You can roll over up to $35,000 of the amount into a Roth IRA for the named beneficiary, which could be you or your child. Or you could simply withdraw the entire balance and pay the 10% tax penalty as well as the federal income tax on the earnings. If you want to see more videos like this, please remember to like, share, and subscribe. See you next time.